Okay, good afternoon and welcome to Just Daf It, Daf Yomi Shir. We're learning Kesubos Mem Vov number 46. Great share for you today. Unbelievable share for you today. We're going to continue talking about Motzi Shemra. More about the Motzi Shemra and what he's chayav, 100 silver coins, and the Malchus that he gets. We'll discuss an Ian Ben Sion, which is the Ian share on the Daf Yomi. The source for both the Mammon and the Malchus, and how you learn both out of them, and what it's based on. We'll get more into that in Ian Ben Sion. Let's get started. The top word of Mem Vav and Aleph. Rav Papa Amar. We had a question this morning, when I did yesterday's Daf. Number 45, Kesubos Mem Hey. The end we left off. We were talking about the Motzi Shemra. He has two punishments. He gets Malchus if he defames her. He falsely claims that she had adultery as an Ara Murasa. He gets Malchus. In addition, he pays money. He pays a sum of 100 silver coins to the girl's father. Now, the question is, does he pay this only if he actually was Boel her? He actually consummated his marriage with her and then defamed her? Or even if he wasn't Boel her, it would apply? Rabbi Yehuda seems to say he always gets Malchus, whether he's Boel or not. The Gemara brought a brisa. Rabbi Yehuda Omer Baal Loka, Lo Baal Ino Loka. But then we brought a brisa. Only if he has Bia, he's Loka. So which one is, according to Rabbi Yehuda? So Rav Papa gives a second answer. Amar, my Baal Loka, Tekasani, Hasam Mamon. Didn't mean to say Malchus when it says Loka in the brisa. He meant to say he has Mamon, right? Rav Yehuda holds, he always, whether it's Boel or not Boel, he gets Malchus. The only contingency about having Bia is dependent on whether he pay money for it. Rikarle Lamon Malchus, the Gemara says you would call a monetary punishment, you call that Malchus. Yeah, the Gemara says, it's true about none. Homer Chertzi Erki Allah, Inosin Chertzi Erko. Mishnah says in Erchin, person says, the Torah lists a parsha of Erchin at the end of Sefer Vayikra. People have values. There's a value to everyone. If you're a man between 20 and 60, you're worth the most. You're worth 50 silver coins. If you pledge your erech, your value to the base of the mikdash, you're chayav 50 coins if you're a man between the age of 20 and 60. And it depends on what your age is, what your gender is. Omer chetzi erki ale nosin chetzi erko. Tanakama holds, let's say it's 50, so you get paid 25. Yos v'yuda omer lokev nosin erech shalim. So you get malchus apparently. If nosin erech shalim, you have to pay the full 50. Loke amai. Why does he get malchus? Right, for saying half an erech, what did he do wrong? Amar Papa lokev erech shalom. Doesn't mean he actually gets malchus. It means he gets punished by paying an erech shalom. In my time, what's the reason that Rabbi Yossi Yehuda is machmir? Gzeira chatzi erko atiu erech chetzio. It's a gzeira, even though technically it should be 25, because there's a case erech chetzio. If you say, instead of saying chatzi erko, you would say erech chetzio, the value of half of him, half of his body. Right, that would be 50, according to everybody. Right, if you say half of my body, the value of half of my body is only the base of Mikdash, that means your whole body, because half of your body includes appendages of your body that your life is dependent on. You can't live without certain parts of your body, your heart, your brain, maybe your legs. If you can't live with them, the Gemara says you have a wound above the knee. You can't really live. So if you take half of your body away, that means you can't live anymore. So therefore, it's really 50. So therefore, even when you do chatzi erko, which is 25, so then gzeira, you get the malchus. Midrabanan, you have to pay the full 50. Tarabanan. Bryce says v'anshu also zem mamon. This is by Motzi Shemra. You punish him. That's money. V'yisru zem malchus. So v'yisru, yisurin, they torture him. Zem malchus, malchus. V'shalom v'anshu zem mamon. It says explicitly in the pasuk that he has to pay 100 silver coins. Gives it to the girl's father. How do you know Yisru means when it says he's tortured, he gets malchus? It says Yisru here by Motzi Shein. It says by Yisru, it says by Bein Sorah Umoreh. And by Bein Sorah Umoreh, it also says the word Ben. And also the word Ben by Ben Hekos Rasha was talking about Malchus. Therefore, you connect Ben to Ben, Yisru, you get Yisru means Malchus. Has Hara L'Motzi Shein Ramina. Now, we learned elsewhere in the Gemara that you can't give punishment to somebody, at least malchus, unless you warn him in first place. So where's the warning in the Torah? Just about the punishment. Where's the warning? Not the motzi shemra. And we're going to see maybe you need a warning even for the monetary punishment also. So Atar Lamoti Shem Minol and Rebbezer Omer Meleo Selich Rachel, right? The famous pasuk in Parshas Kedoshim Selich Rachel. You shouldn't engage in rachilos. Literally means you shouldn't be a peddler, right? Go a gossip monger. Go from person to person, talk about other people. It says you have to be careful on devarim from any bad thing, even from dibora, saying something negative. Rebbezer. Now, the interesting thing, Nishmarta is really an essay, right? It's not really a lav. It's a lav b'mikal essay. So really, that shouldn't be an ashara to get malchus for. I'm going to note that in Ian with Ben Zion. I'm noting it now, but I'll explain it more in Ian with Ben Zion. Relezer my time and Lomar Mahai. Relezer who gave the first pasuk. Why do you say from the second pasuk? He needs that for different Joshua. Nishmarta called over Mikam or Pinchas ben Yair. A person should be careful not to think improper thoughts during the day. He'll come into the tomb of Laila. He'll have a wet dream. I don't know. Rabbi Nosson, my time will Omar Mahai. And Rabbi Nosson, why doesn't he learn from the first pasuk? Who has the basis like Rachel is have kashal? He learns let's say Rachel Amecha. Nothing talking about gossip mongering, whatever it's called. It's talking about a dayan, a judge that he has two. He has a plaintiff and he has a defendant. And he shouldn't be soft to one and harsh to the other. You have to treat them both fairly because it affects their claims, right? If you're harsh with people, they're not going to. Most people aren't assertive enough to make their real claims the right way. The Gemara continues, "Lomar le'edim bovi doing it. Maybe knows and who ain't no loca ain't no slime." This whole din of Moses Shemer only if he gets the witnesses to come. If they just come by themselves and testify falsely that she was mazana, she committed adultery as an aram rasa, he's not punished for that. Who ain't no loke, ain't no nosman slime. He was on mem, if they're correct, they aid them. Even if he didn't invite them, then her and her Adam Zomim go to the base of skill. They get skill. He was on mess. It could be both of them, her and her Adam Zomim. Right? If you're punishing the Adam Zomim, right, you're not punishing her because they're false Adam. Oh, he owes on mem, magdil base of skill. Even if the Adam weren't hired by him, if they're found to be Adam Zomim, right, they weren't muchash, they weren't discredited, right, by saying we have contradictory evidence. They're saying you were with us when you give testimony. You couldn't have possibly known about it. So not only her, but his own, they get, if she's found guilty, she gets skila. If they're found to be his own, they get skila. The reason the Gemara infers is because they didn't say to the Adam to come. If he did say to them, he told them to come, even though he didn't actually hire, they didn't pay them, he would still be chayiv for the punishment of what's his shame. To exclude the opinion of Rehuda, the sign of Rehuda, Omer, Eino chayiv chiuskar Adam. Until he hires them, he pays for them, he pays them off. Only then is he chayiv. My time under Rehuda, Amar Rabbi Abba, ask a sima. He learns Xer Shah, sima, except hachav, asam la alilas dvarim. Right? He claims pretenses against, or he claims false claims against her. Except hasam losisimun alav neshach. He shouldn't charge ribis, he shouldn't charge interest. Right, that's about money. So here, just like they're talking about charging money, here also money. Ask Sima. It's an explicit brisa taught by Yosef Siduni in the Academy of Shuvah Yochai. Zera Shav of Sima. According to Rabbi Yehuda, so you have to actually hire the witnesses. Let's say you hired them, you didn't give them money or metaltalin or movable objects. You hired them by giving them some real estate. You gave him a house, or you gave him a piece of land, right? That's not the same thing exactly as the money by ribis, right? That's talking about ribis is usually charging for giving a loan to somebody, money to somebody, or giving him ochel, food, like the pasuk says. But pachal mishava pruta, let's say you hired them for a little bit of money, less than a shava pruta, less than a quarter. Shneim a pruta let's say you both aid them for one pruta, for 1 quarter. By Ravashi. Let's say he got married to her once, then he got divorced. Well, as an Aaron Ross, then he got married again, and after the second marriage, he claims that she was not a psula. She cheated on him from the first erusin, right? Does that count? Only sui achav mahu. Let's say he's a yavam, right? his brother dies and leaves over a wife. His brother died from Mina Erisin, so therefore he's a Yavam. He technically should be doing Yibum, according to Dindo Raisa, with his brother's wife, even though Mina Erisin Yibum. And he claims that, the Yavam claims that she cheated on him during Eris Mao. Pshot miachada. At least answer one of these questions. Atani Rabbi Yonah SBC Natali Lishazeh. I gave my daughter to this man, Lazev lo liyavam. This man, not to the yavam. Therefore, if it's a yavam involved, when the husband died and the brother is making the claims, the whole din of Moses Shem doesn't apply. My Rabban and my Rabbi Yaakov mentioned the opinion of Rabban and Rabbi Yaakov on the previous daf. What's their where do we find their opinions? How do you do? What is the way that Motzi Shemra operates? Bala Basin or pulling Matali Bizcha Basula, he comes to Basin and he says, I didn't find, he brings the Adam to that account, that I was slept with her, and I didn't find a Basula. If there's Adam that can prove that she committed adultery, they were at the hotel, they were present at the hotel, and they saw them going into a room together. So she gets a ksuva mana. So the Gemara asks incredulously, if she committed adultery, there's Adam to that effect, she gets a ksuva mana. Baskila, she's supposed to be killed. When you're killed and you're convicted of adultery, you don't get a ksuva. So you lose your ksuva. Zinsa Mikara, if they testify she committed adultery after the Eris and she gets skila. Zinsa Mikara, if they testify she committed not adultery, but she was promiscuous before the Eris and Yesh Laksuva Mana, she's treated like an Almana, a Ba'ula, and she gets Ksuva Mana. Nimsa Shamra, Shemra, Nimsa Samra, Shemra, Eno Shemra, right? What the bad name he gave to her, right? He accused her is not really true. He has to, right? Two punishments. He gets malchus, and he also has to pay a monetary fine. Bein baal, bein lo baal. Whether he actually consummated his marriage did be illiterate, or whether he didn't. The whole halacha only applies. We'll see from the pasuk. It seems like unless he actually was together with her. Right? The husband comes and says, I baal. Normally he was together with her. It came close to her for bia. What does that mean? They interpreted he came towards her ba'alilos with pretenses, with false claims. He came close to her with words. We'll see in a second. Right? I didn't find for your daughter Basulim. El Rabbanan, you slept with her. He slept with her, and he didn't find any blood on the sheet. El Rabbanan, my Lamatali Bizka Basulim. He didn't sleep with her. Lamatali Bizka Kishrei Basulim. Meaning, based on the Adam's testimony that she committed adultery, even though I didn't sleep with her, but I know she's not Mukhan for Basulim. She's not Mukhan. Even if I were to sleep with her, I wouldn't find Basulim. Right? The father tries to prove. He brings a sheet that has blood on it, right? The sheet from the first night. What is he saying? No, he's disproving the witnesses by saying either they're Adam Zomim, we have other Adam, or Adam that discredit somehow they contradict their testimony, and therefore she is kosher, she is prepared to have Basulim if you were to be with her. They spread out the sheet. That they had the first night, they had their bed sheets. They had blood on it. They explain what he tried to place upon her. Right, the Adam for the father and the Adam of the husband come and they try to figure out what the truth is, like a new clothing. It's very clean. They try to figure out, make sure they got the facts correct. He says it's literal, simla, mamish. They actually take the bed sheets and see what there's blood on them. Wherever Torah says, like Mark says, anytime where you're over an Aveira, you get a punishment or you get malchus for a bia, it doesn't matter whether you went in from the front or you went in through the anus. It's considered to be a bia. Motzi shemra chilek. Motzi shemra, only one bia counts as a bia. It has to be that the husband, right? He has to do a bia shlokadarka v'yoti shemra kedarka, and he has to be shemra to claim that she committed adultery in the normal fashion, right, through the vagina. Come on, ikar rabbanon. Who is this like? Ikar rabbanon avagav lo bal. If this is a statement like the rabbanon, you don't have to actually have bia, right? Ikar ben Yaakov. It's like ben Yaakov. Was the other opinion? We don't know a third opinion. Top of Mimam base, right? The whole point of Rav Yaakov was say, and he brings in the sheets, right? And he says the sheets didn't have blood on them, so that's his proof that he was together with her. The only way you can bring proof is together with her in the natural way, the normal way, through the vagina. That's where our hymen is, not through the anus. Here, even though normally in Kol Torah Kula, all bias, even through the anus, considered a bia, by Moses Shemron has to be, he has to claim, he has to be together with her, according to Yaakov, in the natural way, the normal way from the front. And he also has to claim that she had adultery. I mean, Moses Shemron, she did adultery in the normal way. The Mishnah says, why that's true? I'm going to have to think about that. Maybe I'll try to tie anything with Ben Sion. I have not tied it in yet to my what I have prepared to say to Ben Sion. Maybe by the time I give out the share, I'll be able to tie it in. My mind works on the go a lot. All right, the Mishnah says, we're going to talk eventually about what the husband gets out of a marriage, but first the Mishnah starts talking about what a father gets out of his daughter. He's entitled, his daughter is a ketana, or even a nara, he gets the right to marry her off. He also gets the kesef, the money that is the way of the kinyan of kedushin, or the shtar. You could affect the kedushin through a shtar. We learn mitzvahs kedushin with bia, right? He has the ability to give her over for a bia to anyone he wants. Zakai msiyasa umaisei adel. He gets what she finds and her wages as a ketana. Or naru, if you can know her nedarim, makabel as gita if she gets divorced as a ketana or a nara. He is the one who accepts her get. However, if she has land that she owns somehow, he doesn't get the fruits from that land. Nises, if she gets married, yes, I love Baal, even though the Baal gets all these things, he also gets the fact that he has to eat fruit from her field in his lifetime. However, he's also obligated to certain things, which is all written in the Kesubos. He's chayav to feed her. He has to ransom her if she gets taken captive. He has to pay for the finances of burying her. The most basic funeral, he says, is that you have to have at least two people playing the flute. That's the way ArtScroll interprets Chalilin Umikonenes. You needed someone, a great eulogizer, a female eulogizer. It seems like that is the most basic form of funeral that every Jewish woman is entitled to. But the husband is entitled to pay for that. Gemara says, "B'kesef minolan." How do you know the father gets the kesef of the kedushin? When she leaves in Ama Ivri, the father, besides having the ability to mekadesh her to a man, he can also sell his daughter to another man to be her slave, his slave, until she becomes a nara. When she becomes a nara, she goes out from the owner, from her master. Ein kesef. He doesn't get any money for reimbursement for ein kesef on zeh. When she leaves that master, she doesn't get it. However, a different master, her father, a different master, what's her second master that a little girl has? Her father. Her father would get money when she leaves his rishus. He gets engaged to another man. Maybe he has the right. The father has the right to give her over. The money should go to her. Whereas he's the one that is able to enact that transaction, right? He said, he has the control over who to give her to for a wife. But she's not going to get the money. It was his right to marry her off. Logically, he should get the money. This pasuk is talking about a ketana that she's not mature enough to hold on to money herself. She is mature enough, a 12-year-old girl. She can decide. And Nara also has the ability, if she wants to marry herself off to somebody, once she marries herself off, she should get the money. Even if she were to marry herself off, kol shvach nurim lavia, it's an extra pasuk by Nedarim. All the benefits of her being a nara go to her father. How do you know that the wages of a daughter go to her father? If a man a father decides to sell his daughter as a maidservant to another man, that connects his daughter to selling her as a maidservant. Just like a maidservant, her or whatever she produces, whatever she makes, her wages go to her master. So to a daughter, her wages go to her father. Why do you need another pasuk? You should learn it out from the general rule. In Rabbi Savia, kol shvachnu Reb Lavia, any benefits that she gets as an ara goes to her father. The Gemara concedes it. The pasuk says, "Ben Rabbi Savia." It's only talking about a first nedarim that belong to the father. You can annul her vows. Maybe you'll tell me we should learn just like he gets the right to be made for a nedarim to annul her nedarim, he should also get the money if she's mekadesh herself as a nara. You can't learn money from Isser because money is more chomer, is more stringent. That you have to bring proof, right? Isser v'heter, or maybe 70% proof is enough to be mat or something. Mamon, you have to bring 80% proof. Maybe you learn it from the knas. The knas goes to the father. We learned about ones and mafata in the previous parak. Because the knas has to go to the father. She's a nara. Mamona miknas lo yafin. You don't learn mamon for knas. There's different payments. Mamona is usually restitution. Knas is just a fine, a deterrent. Right? Besides the fact that he gets the knas of onus and mafat, he also gets boshes begam, the father, her embarrassment and her devaluation. Shiny boshes begam, the avia nami shayach. But you can't learn from there because an embarrassment to the girl is also an embarrassment to the father, to the family. Begam, devaluation is devalue because now her father can't marry her off for as much anymore. So it belongs to the father for a different reason. Right? Where do we learn out the whole idea that as a ketana she gets it? Right? When she leaves the master, right? Her adon, right? She's an ama ivriya, she's a maidservant to him. He doesn't get any reimbursement. Her other adon, her father, he does get reimbursement. So therefore, she also leaves her father, just like when a maidservant leaves her master, she's a nara also, she leaves. When she becomes a nara, she leaves. So there's no money to the adon. Mashma that when a girl, even a nara, leaves her father's rishus, right? So then he's the one who gets the money. V'halo damya. Gemara says they're not comparable. Hasam gabi adon nafklem yeshusei legamre. When she becomes a nara, she leaves completely his property. She's not his property anymore at all. Yitzia the akati mesra mesra lechuppah. Even when she becomes engaged, she still needs to give it over to the chuppah until the chuppah, we'll see in the coming dapim. She has to actually get under the canopy. Under the canopy, then she's considered nechsa lechuppah v'lo she's in the shus of the husband. Until then, she's still in the shus of the father. In the rest of Afaras Nadarim, Mia Nafkala Mir Shusei. In terms of Afaras Nadarim, knowing her Nadarim, she did partially leave his shus. It's not Naram Rasa Avil Baal Mafir and Nandareha, like in the last parak of Masechas Nadarim. If she's Bilreses, if she's engaged, so not only the father is able to annul her nadarim, but you need the consent of both the husband, or the arus, and the father to annul her nadarim. Shtar ubiyah. How do you know the father's entitled to the shtar? He gets to keep the shtar, and he also has the ability to give the kaddish or ubiyah. Minal and Amar Krav. It says by getting married, she should be to another man. Iska shavaya sadadu. Haisa is a general word, so therefore any way of having havaya, which is kesef, shtar, and biyah, they're all linked to each other. So if the kesef goes to the father, the shtar and the biyah would also be in the rights of the father. That's the conclusion of today's shiur. Stay tuned for Ian with Ben Sion. We're going to talk more about Motzi Shemra and the two punishments, the different sources for them, and more coming up next.